I'm hoping you can all hear me. Give me a 5B5 if you can see and hear me. I've just been doing an interview which lasted a bit longer than I thought, only because we was getting on like an house on fire. E.M. Burlingham, Bullingame. E.M. Burlingham. He's on Twitter. He's also been. Do you remember he's the guy I said to you, go and have a look at his video? It's on Rumble, where he actually tells you what's going on. And he's the closest I've ever seen to actually what's going on. And he's, I think, a Green Beret. And he was also military intelligence for a long time. And he sits there and he tells us everything that's going on. So everyone got 5B5. Derek C, Step, nice to all. Norman Stevens, Juicy and Lacey, I'm here, but cooking. I need to get something to eat. Truth Casada, good evening, and 5B5. I'm not sure what was happening with that, so it might be coming out of my window, getting a bit of feedback. Don't forget, sharing is caring. Hit the like button. We are on both channels, well in excess. Let's have a look and see if our resident troll has turned up. Not yet. So we've got 15 likes so far. Hit the like button. Don't forget to share on all the platforms, because the only people getting these messages out are you. I'm going to see if I can go and find... well, let me have a quick look at this, because I need to share this on the screen. Government national audit on group-based child sexual exploitation and abuse. And then Baroness Casey's audit on group-based child sexual exploitation and abuse, and it's got in brackets grooming gangs. I'm fed up with the political correctness. They are rape and torture gangs. And one of the things that's specific to this report is they're trying to block certain elements. I don't trust this. I don't care what, whatever her name is, Olivia or Oliver or whatever her name is, the lady who's the police who says she's supporting the groups, etc. I take note of what the victims are telling me on Twitter, not directly. And that is that they don't trust her either. So the detective constable that was involved with this says that she trusts Baroness Casey. Anyone who puts this down as grooming gangs, these are not grooming gangs. This is rape and torture of young English white working class children as the target group to be raped, tortured, trafficked within a certain group of people, right? And one way or the other, you need to say what needs to be said. You cannot be using any form of political correctness, which I certainly am not. And let me just go and make sure that everyone understands what I'm talking about, because I've just put something out there. Maybe it's on that one. We're going to get it out there. Let's have a quick look and see if I can find it anywhere. So I haven't found it directly, but it is not on my profile page. Let's have a look and see if it comes up. I am now live, so that information is out there. And there it is. So I've put quite a bit of information up there. What I'm going to do is cross over to this so you can all see it. Touch wood. Can you all hear me all right? This is why it's partly crucially important, because we put a leaflet out which I'm getting reprinted for the court, so they absolutely understand what we're talking about. And the Royal Mail has deliberately stopped that leaflet going out, which is election interference. Why our leaflet was suppressed, uncovering the motive behind the interference, right? So I'm going to go through that, but I'm going to show you our leaflet again. The leaflet says justice for the victims of rape and torture, prosecutions, not inquiries. We have the evidence to let the jury decide. Defending your rights. Remember, we're constitutionalists and common law rights advocates. Vote Graham Moore, English Constitution Party, Runcorn and Helsby constituency by-election. They don't like the fact that we're putting this out, and I can tell you now that Sarah Pitchin did not mention this, did not advertise this in any way. She, when we was at the hustings, she stayed well away from this. So, the first pledge to you: justice for the English. We demand the prosecution of all state officials under Section 134 of the Criminal Justice Act 1988 for torture. Those who acquiesced, I want you to listen to my words, consented, omitted, or acted to cause the rape of white working class English girls, primarily by Pakistani Muslim men, must face trial, not just a public inquiry. Section 6 mandates a life sentence upon a guilty verdict. With no judicial discretion, life means life. State officials include MPs, lords, judges, Crown Prosecution Service staff, ministers. In other words, you're talking about groups of people within the establishment, right? Ministers, prime ministers, police and council officials. So this particular is something that's very important that they didn't want the people to know, right? So again, I'm going to go back to the top of the, and again, if I can, I apologise for going up and down like a yo-yo. All right, I'm going to put that out there. I've sent the information out there so everyone can read it. I am going to put it on here so everyone gets this. I need this retweeted. You can send it to Dominic Cummings. You can send it to whoever you like. But it's basically a statement for public consumption about the leaflet. On the May the 1st, 2025, I stood as the English Constitution Party candidate in Runcorn and Helsby by-election to demand justice for victims of rape and torture, asserting that state officials enabled these crimes and should face prosecution under Section 134 of the Criminal Justice Act 1988. You saw that clearly written on election communication, which is a leaflet, with evidence for a jury to decide. Our campaign commissioned a leaflet approved for delivery to 45,400 addresses by April the 23rd, 2025. To present this case, drawing on the forthcoming national audit of group-based child sexual exploitation and abuse by Baroness Casey, published on June the 16th, today, 2025, which verifies our claims. The leaflet also highlighted potential conspiracies under Section 1 of the Criminal Law Act 1977, a stance supported by a video from Dominic Cummings alleging a high-level cover-up. However, Royal Mail, legally obligated to deliver it for free under Representation of the People Act 1983, with an approved code, we paid for production only, failed to do so. Halton Borough Council oversaw a suspicious vote count, and Cheshire Police neglected to investigate, suggesting deliberate election interference to suppress our truthful accusations. I am challenging this in the High Court, with a hearing set for October the 2nd, 2025 in Runcorn and Helsby. This article examines the motives behind their actions. The leaflet's claims, verified by the Casey audit, our April 2025 leaflet, produced at our expense and approved by the Royal Mail with a delivery code, argued that the state agents, police councils and officials enabled rape and torture gangs through acts, omissions, acquiescence and consent, facilitating the infliction of severe pain or suffering on children. The Casey audit, published on June 16, 2025, substantiates these assertions, providing evidence for prosecution, while Dominic Cummings' video supports our claim of a conspiracy to conceal these failures. The leaflet's key points now verified include systemic acquiescence to rape and torture. We stated that officials ignored reports and blamed victims, enabling rape and torture gangs. The audit confirms significant failures in Rochdale, Rotherham and Telford, where officials dismissed allegations labelling girls as prostitutes. In Rotherham, 1,400 children endured severe pain or suffering from 1997, probably a lot long, well before that, to 2014 due to omissions. That's the omissions in these reports and investigations. Torture, Section 134, the audit evidence of acquiescence, ignoring reports, enabling the infliction of severe pain or suffering, meeting Section 134 torture threshold with intent inferred from reckless inaction. Conspiracy, Section 1. The audit notes senior officials instructed staff to suppress concerns confirming a conspiratorial agreement to acquiesce to abuse, obstructing justice and enabling acts of rape and torture, as Cummings' video suggests, at a higher level. Data suppression as acts or consent or of consent. We claimed officials hid data to protect gangs. The audit verifies significant gaps in data collection, with acts like sanitising records to avoid scrutiny, consenting to the infliction of severe pain or suffering. Torture, Section 134, these acts and omissions prolonged victim suffering, supporting torture liability with intent inferred from deliberate suppression. So as long as you understand what that means. Is everyone hearing this, by the way? Because this is going out live on YouTube, going live on Rumble and live on Twitter, right? Conspiracy, Section 1, coordinated acts across regions per the audit confirm a conspiratorial agreement to conceal these crimes, enabling further infliction of severe pain or suffering, aligning with Cummings' allegations. Silencing whistleblowers with consent. We highlighted silenced victims and whistleblowers. The audit confirms a culture of denial, with officials in Oldham, per a 2022 review, acquiescing to abuse by suppressing the concerns to protect reputations. Torture, Section 134, this consent to infliction of severe pain or suffering constitutes torture with intent inferred from systematic silencing. Conspiracy, Section 1. The audit's evidence coordinated silencing supports a conspiratorial agreement to acquiesce via acts like suppressing concerns, a conspiracy to pervert justice echoed by Cummings. Cultural acquiescence, shielding gangs. We noted officials avoided investigations to dodge sensitive issues. The audit verifies consent to the infliction of severe pain or suffering by prioritising politics over child safety. Torture. Section 134, this acquiescence meets Section 134's criteria with intent inferred from consistent inaction. Conspiracy, Section 1. Widespread omissions per audit confirm a conspiratorial agreement enabling acts of rape and torture supported by Cummings' cover-up claims. Why they interfered protecting a conspiracy, Casey audit and Cummings video demonstrate that our leaflet told the truth, threatening to expose a conspiracy to shield state agents who enabled rape and torture gangs. The Royal Mail, Houghton Borough Council and Cheshire Police interfered to protect those implicated, motivated by the following reasons. Royal Mail's non-delivery to shield the establishment. Under the Representation of the People's Act 1983, Royal Mail was legally obligated to deliver our approved leaflet for free, funded by public election provisions. We paid for production and the Royal Mail issued a delivery code, yet they failed to distribute it to 45,400 addresses by April the 23rd, 2025. This was not a logistical error. I allege it was a deliberate act to prevent voters from learning about the torture and conspiracy verified by the audit. Royal Mail's interference protected officials named in Cummings' video as part of a cover-up, ensuring the establishment avoided scrutiny. Houghton Borough Council's fraudulent count to bury local complicity. Houghton Borough Council, led by Chief Executive Stephen Young, as acting returning officer, oversaw the by-election. I allege Labour-affiliated councillors misrepresented ballots, reporting an impossible 50 votes identical to the 2016 election under a different council, defying statistical probability. This fraudulent count suppressed our campaign, which linked local CSSE failures, as per the audit, to a broader conspiracy. The council's actions were motivated by a desire to protect local officials implicated in the audit's findings, aligning with Cummings' allegation of systemic cover-ups. Cheshire Police inaction to preserve the status quo. Cheshire Police failed to investigate Royal Mail's non-delivery or ballot irregularities and allegedly harassed ECP campaigners, intimidating us during the campaign. Their omissions and acts prevented scrutiny of the election fraud, mirroring the audit's evidence of police acquiescence to crime. I allege this was driven by a motive to shield the police force from our leaflets revelations, which the audit and Cummings' video suggest are part of a coordinated effort to conceal state failures. High Court challenge, October the 2nd, 2025. I've petitioned the High Court to annul the May the 1st, 2025 by-election result, arguing the vote count was erroneous and or deliberately fraudulent due to Royal Mail's illegal non-delivery, the council's rigged count and police complicity. The impossible 50 vote tally disproportionately harmed candidates like me who paid a £500 deposit. They stole our votes and therefore stole our deposit, undermining democracy in the process. The hearing, scheduled for October the 2nd, 2025, in Runcorn and Helsby, will seek a recount and accountability paralleling our demand for justice in the CSEA scandal. That means rape and torture of our English white working class children, and allowed to continue by the British state, right? So don't forget to send this out and put them on there, right? A legal basis for prosecution. The Casey audit verifies our leaflet's call for prosecution under Section 134 of torture for acts, omissions, acquiescence and consent, enabling severe pain or suffering, and Section 1 conspiracy for agreements to obstruct justice. The audit's evidence, suppression of reports, data gaps and silence whistleblowers in Rotherham and Oldham is sufficient to infer intent for prosecution, as intent can be deduced from the deliberate acts or omissions under Section 134 as per R.V. Zardad 2007 and implied in Section 1 conspiracy agreements. A national statutory inquiry, as recommended by the audit will ensure accountability, fully documenting these failures, or will it? Consistent with Cummings' claims over a cover-up. The motive, preserving a corrupt system. Royal Mail, Houghton Borough Council and Cheshire Police interfered because our leaflet exposed the truth they sought to bury. State agents' complicity in enabling rape and torture gangs, as verified by the Casey audit and alleged by Dominic Cummings. Their actions were motivated by a need to protect a conspiracy that shields the guilty, ensuring the establishment avoids legal and public reckoning. The election interference was a tactical move to suppress evidence of this cover-up, mirroring the audit's findings of systemic acquiescence. Conclusion. The Casey audit and Cummings video confirm our leaflet's accusations. Royal Mail's illegal non-delivery, the council's fraudulent count, and police inaction were calculated to silence the truth. The High Court hearing on October the 2nd, 2025 in Runcorn and Helsby, two High Court judges travelled to Runcorn and Helsby, will address this interference. Read the audit here. National Audit Group Based Child Sex Exploitation Abuse. Yours in pursuit of the truth, Graham Moore, English Constitution Party candidate, Runcorn and Helsby by-election. And then if I click on that, you will see the leaflet, page 2, and there is the what we are putting out to everyone, just to make sure everyone understands what's going on. I will ask the audience, what do you think of that statement put out in relation to the Casey report? And I need to Kew Gardens, I need to send an email to the printers to get some prints done of that particular leaflet exactly as they were and slightly larger for the court, which I'll come back. Tell me his name again in the chat, meaning on WhatsApp, and then I'll go and find his emails and send it to him. Ancient English, going to mum, this is. I don't think it was really because they were top scored called racist. Spot on, DD. Love it. Absolutely on point. I'm just saying it's a statement about that. And again, expressing to people that the Royal Mail took umbrance. It may be via the unions who support Labour and said don't deliver them leaflets. It's not my concern how and who what. I need for the court to agree that they was not delivered, which is what we're getting now, and we've presented to the court so far. So there's a lot more work I've got to do in the background. Could do with spreading leaflets around Westminster. That wouldn't do any good. I'll tell you for why, because they're all part of the conspiracy. Slimming or sliming, 100% spot on. Very succinct, DD. And again, it is a statement in reference. I couldn't allow that come out without making a statement to say, listen, we put that in our leaflet and you didn't deliver it, right? So I think it's clear to everyone that the Royal Mail have interfered with an election. Anyone who's listening to this and understands it, they're trying everything to get out of it, and they're not going to get out of it. And again, there's lots of evidence being presented. Bobby Crush, I remember the Royal Mail refused to deliver Tommy's Robinson's leaflets when he stood in as an MP in North West. Bobby Crush, you need to send me an email with that. I wasn't aware that they did that. And Tommy Robinson should have brought a case against them if that is the case. I wasn't aware that that's what they did. If there is evidence of that. Please share, bookmark, quote, and like. Yes, most certainly. Excellent, DD. Let's have a look. So earlier on, so I've just made that just to make sure everyone understands exactly what's going on there. And again, don't forget to share, because sharing this, they're trying to shut us down. They're trying to shut the case down. They're trying to do everything, right? It's little old me supporting you, standing up there, and telling the courts this is what's gone on, right? And I believe we will. I have to have a belief in justice. If I don't have a belief in justice, my existence is marred with not having that. So I do have to have a belief in the Constitution, which we are being putting forward. DD, I shouldn't bang on the money once again. Grasshopper, hello Grasshopper, how you doing? Tracy, DD logged in late has gone up to on Twitter what you've just read out. Yeah, it's on Twitter, so I've just put that out and I'll put it out there again. So everyone can go, and no treat, no surrender. That's exactly that. Just think about them kids and everything they suffered, and all the way into adulthood, being labelled as prostitutes, right? And statutory rape is statutory rape. There is an age of consent in this country, right? And the things that they've done to them kids, not minor at all. And again, Tommy Robinson is just one of the people that's put that out. There's many others. It's sickening, absolutely sickening, that these people in the background are all trying to say it was because of them and they supported it when we absolutely know that they didn't, right? And again, we'll do whatever. Now, the event in Northern Ireland has been cancelled, just to make sure everyone is aware. One, because of the ongoing violence, and two, we don't want them in any way trying to blame us or do anything. And this case is really important, so it has been cancelled. But there's many other things that we're doing in the background, and I have got to concentrate on this. So, Chuck Money, hopefully torture is heading towards those twats like a locomotive of full tilt. Well, again, it's only going to get out there if you share, right? And that's why that is crucially important. Again, we just got to make sure we put that information out there. Again, I've just finished an interview with E.M. Burlingame, I believe his name is. That was an interesting conversation. And again, we don't agree on everything, but we do largely agree that there is a group of people in the background that are doing X, Y, Z, and we need to stop them and stand up. And he also agrees that it is the Constitution that is the solution. That's what they're terrified of. He also agreed that the common law is under attack, right? And in particular, England and America, which I absolutely agree with. Tommy Robinson came to my town when a young lass was groomed, but she ended up going to prison. Fucking criminal. Hope she gets vindicated now. Again, a lot of them things, they're trying to imply that, that these girls are immoral, these girls are this, these girls are that. It's all about the victims and not the people perpetrating it. I've seen it. I've seen them do it. So we just got to make sure that we keep our chins up and keep moving forward. That is what we're about, basically. The Constitution is the solution. The law is the solution. Keep pushing forward, and we can't do it without you. Just to make sure that everyone understands this. You can pay money directly into my account, or again, I'll put this out there for everyone. Not just this group, but you can pass it around. The GoFundMe to fight for free and fair elections, and we're pushing all that all the way forward. So I'm seeing quite a few different people on here. Let's see how many we've got in total. We've got 320, probably over 500 people, I think, watching at the moment, which is fantastic. Don't forget also, so just to make sure I do show this to everyone. Not sure, fundraiser, there it is there. I'm going to put it up on the screen. It's now raised just under £2,000, 40 donations, etc. And everyone, don't forget that this isn't about me, right? But this is about getting justice, and it's justice for the people who had their votes stolen by Runcorn and Helsby's council, Halton Council, and that is what's being presented. And they're doing everything in their power to try and shut this case down, right? So they don't like it. And I'm not suggesting that Sarah Pouchin did anything wrong, right? Although her solicitors was there. Don't forget also that the letters to the American Department of State directly into America have gone straight in there. 2 Americans have turned up and made themselves known to the court, right, which is a positive thing. And they're very interested in this case. So just to make sure you're all aware. A new bonfire night. Let's have a look. Any questions from anyone? So there it is. I'm just making sure everyone's got that. Not sure. And I know, listen, I don't expect, we do need to try and get that information out to people. And I'll see if there's any others in there. Again, I'm not really happy with this. Obviously not happy with this, but you've got the Labour Party now trying to kill babies full term. Exactly what's going on in America. That is pure evil, right? Killing little babies. You should all know this anyway, from a very young age, I believed that killing a baby, an innocent, once it had been conceived, was a no-no, right? And I still believe that. Let me have a look. Well, no one wants cheating. Don't matter who you are, because I believe, and just to make sure everyone understands this, let's stop sharing that a second. I believe 100%. Let me just see if I've got this on there. I mean, this is the elections. I've read this out to you before, but Helsby's Laws of England, 4th edition, volume 15, elections. And what they're going to get is me talking about paragraph 685, page 367, freedom of elections. So making sure that you understand this, in 1275 it was enacted that because elections ought to be free, the King commandeth upon great forfeiture that no great man nor other by force of arms nor by malice or menacing shall disturb any to make free election, right? And then it's got a footnote of 1. It was further enacted in 1688 that elections of members of parliament ought to be free, right? And then you've got what it referenced, Statute of Westminster, the first Statute of Westminster, 1275, Chapter 5, and it's still law, right? And the second is the Bill of Rights, which we're obviously looking for, but you can't then try and rewrite. The interpretation of that is by a judge, right? So our trial judge is a King's Bench justice, and she is entitled to read it and understand. And what I'm going to be saying to them in that court is you should always be looking at the intent of Parliament through our history from 1275 to the Glorious Revolution, the English Bill of Rights, and understand what that's about. I just had a very interesting conversation with a gentleman about he calls it the Inglorious Revolution. There are elements that people, if you go through history, some of the things he's saying is actually absolutely right. And what I've said to him is that there was a secondary issue, right? So people, was having a discussion with people and saying, like, I'm not an ethno-nationalist. That's not what I believe in. But at the Actors Settlement, if you are not born of English parents, you can't have any position or authority, including Member of Parliament, Police Constable, House of Lords, judge, anyone. And what the guy agreed with, by the way, on the thing, he said, that's what's caused the problem here. You've now got foreign-born judges. And I said, because they're interested in destroying the culture and the constitution. So they should be forbidden. And that was forbidden in England via the Acts of Settlement. And what attacked that, them two provisions in law and our culture, was the Acts of Union, because it was put in place to circumvent the English Bill of Rights, and bearing in mind everyone says you haven't got a constitution. I said, well, we have got a constitution. It's English and it's Scottish, right? They're two separate constitutions. The Acts of Union was not in place to create a constitution, and that wasn't its purpose. Its purpose was to protect the English and the Scottish constitutions and the separate jurisdictions. And that has been in bad faith, certainly from the 1850s onwards. But again, there's a lot of conversations to be had with that, and discussions. Again, we can disagree with each other slightly on things. That ain't a problem to me. As long as they're reasonable discussions in the background, we're actually talking about English history and the archives. I did bring up the Little Hats as well. Depopulation program to be cull the world. Not enough murdered yet. They got their targets to meet. No, I agree with you. I think there is something serious going in. I also mentioned dark personality, and they go into positions and they take advantage of us and our consciences. Real truth. Questioning cheating is punishable by stealing your money and costs. Yeah. As per Georgina Guidestones, 500 million. We are well into the end of days in Revelation, last book of the Bible. A third of the earth will be destroyed. Possibly. There are things that we was discussing on there about drawing fire and getting these people to use all their weaponry up, which we think they have. I did have a discussion as well and said, like, Putin actually said that we're not part of your Roman Empire. So this guy believes it's all part of the Roman Empire, which is what I've said to you. I said, we're not, that maybe there's little tiny bits where you could go wink, 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 put bits, because I haven't read what he's read and he's not read what I've read. But we are of the same actual forward position that Romanism is what's at the heart of it, a slave system. And this is a slave system. That's what they believe in. And you've all been enslaved in some way. Yes, Graham, totally agree. By Miranda Blair's fingers all over this shit. Yeah, no, I agree. Hi, Tracy. Can you remind me the best email for contact, please? Ancient English, I hope so. I am forever hopeful. So there's lots of bits going on. I'm going to have to get something to eat before I go, though. So it ain't going to be a massively long show. It's just an update. And there are various things. I've got to read through some more paperwork, and then I'm going to be constructing 3 separate elements against these people and see what they come back with. But I can't do anything until I get what they are arguing about. And if they're specifically saying to me, we're just trying to kick you out on this, there's some arguments against it. They need to be a little bit sharper than that, because we're actually going to be looking at the substantial law on elections, and the Parliament's intent has always been that, and again, the English way is don't cheat, right? If you want to take power, then do it the right way. And if people don't, again, is everyone aware? Let me bring this up because I think it's really important. Let's see if I can bring this up on the screen. And I am looking forward to my escape to Devon, where I'll be talking to a few things. I now know someone else who lives very close to Brixham, so I quite like him. So I'll probably be going for a beer down there a few times. I love Brixham. I love Devon. Right, hang on. It's very English. What am I looking for? Oh, I know. Let's bring this up just to make sure you're all aware, right? I'll have to bring it up on. I don't know. I won't bring it up on Wikipedia. I'll bring it up on the House of Commons Library and show you it, because this is all part of what our case is going to be. I'm not going to House of Commons Library, right? Alternative vote referendum 2011, published Thursday the 19th of May 2011, right? 67% Nearly 68% of voters oppose changing the electoral system to alternative vote in a UK-wide referendum. On the 5th of May 2011, the turnout was 42%, right, which is not high, but it's still, that's a massive no-no. This research paper presents the information on votes cast in each region and referendum counting area, right? So 67% were opposed. Now I'm bringing this up in law and saying, listen, what the the individuals that are working in particularly Labour-run councils are implementing their own version of alternative vote, and when we've already said we don't want that, right? This research paper presents information on votes cast in each region and referendum, right? So again, let's have a look and see if I can actually download the full report. What I don't want to do is cause any big problems with my system at the moment. So there it is there. Who is that? Fergal McGuinness. Economic indicators, direct taxes and allowance, health and social care bill, Fergal Harker summary, extent of the no vote, voting by region. So what we're going to have a look at is what it actually said. There were 6.2 million yes votes, 32% in favour of the change. Now, them people are operating within these councils and removing your votes and in effect placing them in their own piles, which is highly illegal. There was 13 million no votes opposing the change. The no vote was in the majority in every UK region, so everyone was against it. The no vote was above 70% in 5 of the 9 English regions. So 5 of the 9 English regions said no. The North East, the West Midlands, the East Midlands, East of England and the South East. Out of the 440 vote counting areas, the no vote was in the majority in 430. That's massive. Of the 10 areas that had majority of less than 6 votes, 6 were in London. Out of the 10 areas that had a majority of yes votes, 6 were in London. So it was basically London that had fallen, which we already know, right? The turnout was 42%. The referendum coincided with the Scottish Parliament elections, National Assembly for Wales elections, Northern Ireland Assembly elections, and council elections in many local areas, right? So England, again, outside of London, has stood up and said, no, we ain't having it, right? So all of that information is on there. Again, I will be using that data in our case. Again, there's a lovely little image of that. And then you've got London, which was the lowest turnout. Again, that's because these people don't vote. Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, UK total. And there it is but massively, the regions were opposed to it. So as you can see, on the Orkney Islands, and literally you can see the higher green areas there. They're all the Labour areas that have basically said that they wanted an alternative vote. So Hackney, 31% turnout. There's all the different areas in there. So it's just to make sure everyone's got that. I am going to stop sharing, come back to that. Do you all understand how that ties into this? Because what they're doing is implementing their own alternative vote system, which they're not allowed to do. It's illegal, and the will of the people was expressed. No, we don't want that. So for the Labour councillors to be taking your votes for a candidate, English Constitution Party or independent candidates, right? And this can happen to anyone. It can even happen, they'll nick a load of the Conservatives ones and put it in their own pile. That is what they're doing. And they're implementing alternative vote system, which we've already majorly said no to. So it is a crooked system. Stafford Dron, let's have a look at that. Ancient English, the British was behind the Russian bombers that got blown up and the civilian train that got blown up. That's why Putin said, if you do it again, London would disappear. Did he actually say that? I never see him say that. Quick question for the end of the show. I've got some DMSO for my birthday. Can someone remind me how to use it? Depends what you're using it for, is the answer. So I've got DMSO there, which is a gel, but you have got the fluid. I when I drink it, I drink about 100 ml, which is quite a lot, right? And then I'll mix it with orange juice or whatever, just drink it because it tastes disgusting. But on my ankle, for example, I would just get some of that. Not that I'm going to show you my ankle at the moment, right? And then I'll just rub it onto my ankle and let it go in, and you can feel it straight away. You know it's gone into your system because you get a garlicky breath. But it depends on the condition that you're trying to treat, is the answer. How to slim in pharmacy. Yesterday they cancelled Norfolk's vote and are breaking up our county vote to join regions and always been on the right. Yeah, no, again, I had a really, really good conversation with someone who says he's going to try and put me in contact with someone out in America, so you shall see some different things. And again, we've just gone past the £2,000 raised. We've got up the goal of that quite considerably because they're going to hit us with a few quid on that. And I don't particularly want to be. What's that? Oh. Let me just put lovely. Someone's just sent me a picture. Right, that's it. I'm going to probably get some food or something, and then I'll organise the other bits and pieces. I might even ring Tim in Portugal, but we're still moving forward. Everyone out there, I will come back on tomorrow night, but I have been a bit busy with different things today, and there are things that I need to discuss. But don't forget the election. Sorry, not the election. Let's see if I can go and find it. Just to make sure you've all seen this as well, actually. Make sure that I can pull this up, right? So everyone understands. Hopefully there's no doxing going on there. Entire screen, that one there. The English Constitution Society, Northern Ireland, is cancelled due to the ongoing violence. What we don't want to do, especially with the British, is they will try and blame this type of stuff on us when it's nothing to do with us, right? They've created it, and it is sad currently that they're turning to the violence. What we really need to do is get them to turn to the Constitution, the English Constitution. So the Northern Irish one is not on. But the other thing that I wanted to show you, which I've brought up on the screen so everyone can read it, right? This is, people really need to understand this, right? In addition to civil servants may be subjected to a purge procedure and a positive vetting procedure. The purge procedure is designed to prevent persons with communist or fascist associations being employed on work, the nature of which is vital to the security of the state. Now, that includes people that are as counters in local elections. They shouldn't be in there. And just to make sure you all understand this, right, I'm going to bring it back up there so everyone can see it, right? we've highlighted that. David done a fantastic job for me to highlight that. In addition, the civil servants may be subjected to a purge. It puts that in inverted commas. And just to make sure you understand that this is not bullshit, it comes from this book, right? That's actually a photograph of a page of this book, which is the Halsbury's Laws of England, 4th edition, volume 8, constitutional law. And it is actually under constitutional law, right? So no one's under any illusions that there's two different types of people out there. There are communists, and they're trying to make you choose between being a communist and a fascist. Well, the answer is the English are neither. And that's because we have a common law jurisdiction. Just to make sure you're aware of that. Stop sharing, go back to my normal screen. Let's see if I can go back to that and see if I am. Let's have a look. Anyway, that's it. Good night. God bless to everyone. I am going to say, don't forget what I believe. The Constitution is the solution. I'm about to have something to eat and see if I can chill out. I am immensely grateful for our audience, not only on YouTube, but also on Rumble and on Locals and on X, even though for some reason X doesn't show me the total of how many people are watching, but I'm sure you're going to tell me in the audience. But again, I just want everyone to know we will never surrender and we will take this country back. But it is you that gets this message out. So hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and above all, share. Because the only way people are understanding what's going on is when you tell them or they connect with this information. That's it. Good night. God bless. Let me make sure that I've got my elements on there. So